Today on Toy Domination, I'm alone. I'm alone in the world. Joe texted me like 30 minutes before the show was supposed to start and said he's running a little late. So I'm going to be hosting my own show for a little bit and hopefully he'll jump back on. But in the meantime, I have a appropriate Joe fill-in that I thought I would use. I think it's a striking resemblance to the man, honestly. So, Joe, thanks for the show. Do you want to reel us in with any theme songs or anything like that? Nope, no opposable thumbs. Today on Toy Domination, we're going to talk about a subject that's actually come up in several streams I've been a part of. It's been on several chats, and I've gotten DM questions about it. How do you play with your kids? How do you play toys with your kids? As a toy collector, this was something easy we probably did as children. We just naturally went out there and started getting our knees in the dirt and grinding our G.I. Joes outside. As adults, we may have kind of lost that part or that touchstone we used to have as kids, and maybe it's harder now to influence them. Maybe they're looking at too many monitors or screens. So today, I and this stuffed animal will talk about how you actually play with kids. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of phase this in. We're going to talk about the very early, like entry level kind of how you play with young kids, maybe around 2-ish. And up to about 5, and that's your early intermediate or your early phase. Then kind of like an intermediate where they're starting to use their imagination, play more, and they're starting to influence their own stories and tell their own, make up their own characters. And then last, we're going to do like kind of the advanced. And this isn't really an age necessarily, but it's kind of how your kid, because every kid's different, how your kid plays and how you kind of influence them to play. As a bonus, we even talk about how adults can play with toys. I know, completely taboo. Nobody plays with toys. We just collect them, but we'll talk about how you can actually play with toys as an adult too. So, hey, actually, I got Joe logging in here.
Hey.
Where are you?
What's going on? I was driving home, and the traffic was so horrible that I was never gonna get there in time. So a buddy of mine actually lives around the corner, so I just pulled off and went to his house, and I'm in a random room in his house.
You just like stop and be like, hey, can I come in and stream in?
Yeah, I'm gonna swoop into your home, steal a bedroom, and commandeer it for just a little while and talk about toys on a live stream. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I mean, you're here. That's all that really matters. So
yeah, I won't have a toy cam this week because I don't keep toys at my friends' houses. But
maybe you should. Maybe you should start keeping toys at this guy's house.
I'll rent a small closet space and
it'll be the what you got B list. Like these are the ones in the live stream. Here's the backup.
A bit of toys.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If I buy toys at work from now on, I'll just stop at his house on the way home and be like, just leave this here. Don't worry about it.
You set up an Amazon backup delivery to his house. All right. Well, hey, well, you made it though, and that counts. So, all right. Well, I think you might have missed the intro. You know what we're talking about today. So I kind of like queued it up. We're going to talk about, the 3 levels, the early, intermediate, and advanced. I had a picture I wanted to show here, but I can't.
That's right down. The pictures are down to the left.
Yeah. But I can't.
Do you need help with it?
Yeah, this is the problem with like iPhone to Android and computer.
All right, hold on. You're kind of breaking up, so I'm going to move to a different room so I can.
Okay. Hold on. All right, sorry. Give us 1 second here so I can.
Just give me a second.
It's kind of hinged on. Hold on. Sorry. Usually we don't have this stuff so messed up, and my co-host usually isn't late either, but
it's right here.
Oh, that's where it is. Oh,
yeah. It's right down there.
Got it. I got it now.
All right, I'm gonna use the internet in your other
Yeah.
room.
No, you go back in there. I'm good now.
Oh wait, should we just do this in the same room?
No, it's kind of weird. I'm not used to doing that. I'd rather have it all virtual.
What's happening? We're in the same place.
Hey, Coach Joe, classic fake out.
I've got like 2 mics. I got 2 things going on. This is, by the way, bring back Cute Joe. I am Cute Joe. How dare you?
Hey, it's today on Toy Domination. My best friend came to visit.
Hey!
This is awesome.
We've done this before, but at my house.
And we recorded it, and it wasn't live. Wait, was that live?
I think. I don't know. I don't remember things.
We got a well done. We had a well done. That's good.
Yeah, entry level play with the kids. What would you like? So the first thing, one of the first things I asked you about how you play with your kids, because they're slightly older than mine. How much time do you spend?
Yeah. So I was with on a stream with Toy Connections, Toy Connections.
Yeah.
And really great channel. Go check the guy out. He kind of does an archivist sort of approach, but he does really interesting like deep dives on like bad Duke, like the bad guy version of Duke. Really great dude. Canadian, but a really great dude. And he asked at the end of the stream, like, hey, how do you actually sit down and take that time to play with kids? Because we both work full time.
Yeah.
I secretly wish I was a stay-at-home dad. Like,
Circuitly?
I don't even secretly, actually. That is what I want to do.
I circuitly wish things all the time.
Do you circuit? Well, you have to bring it back around. That's the circuit.
Yeah.
I have the wish to bring it around. So glad you're here.
So I can just catch all those.
Yeah, with the delay,
right on top.
I can cut you off a lot of times, but there's no like. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Jim Largo here. Sergeant Slaughterhouse. Listen, Sergeant Slaughterhouse is another great channel you should be looking at. So he did a G.I. Joeberg type play action with Sergeant Slaughter, and he incorporates the wrestling aspect into it, but in G.I. Joe world. It's super fun. Like, they're really good. He does some voice acting in there. And Jim Largo, who I've never actually met before, every time I've seen him like commenting on streams, he seems like a really stand-up dude, and like, I don't know. And if anybody does the G.I. Joe community, they recognize Gaz. I tried to look for your channel. Gaz. So if you actually have a channel, Gaz, let me know and I'll go subscribe to it. Also, like, really stand-up dudes. And of course, Robin Charles, who's probably huge and swole based on our bicep conversation. And we got Steven, as always, in the chat. So, he asked, like, how do you focus that time to play with them? Because as adults, we kind of lose that focus ability. We have phones, we have work, we've got things we're supposed to do. So,
like a lot of people's jobs, I don't really clock out at 5. It's kind of like the phone keeps going, and then
so that's a good way
to get distracted.
That's a good way to put it, is clocking out. So what you have to do, Morty,
is
that
very good.
You have to actually take that time, stop, and go, I'm going to turn off all the other dials and just focus in. And the article I read was talking about playing with Legos with kids. The child is aware when you're distracted on it. You know what I mean? They understand when you're not cueing to them, and you you repeat yourself, and like,
you shouldn't do that when they're just playing and you're spending time.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
When you're
it's
playing
a
with
focus time, and a focus 15 minutes is better than an hour distracted. So the time you actually spend playing with them dramatically varies on your child's attention span.
Yeah.
My kids at an early age had a very good attention span. On Tuesdays,
I think we kind of grandfathered them into it, though.
On Thursdays, not so great attention spans, right? So
every other day.
So I think it's just like any other parenting advice. It is what you parent to your kid, not to what the book tells you to. Like, Grayson's going to grow up and be different than Violet. So you're going to parent differently between those kids. Finn is different from Tristan. So I play with them different, right? So, and there's different days of the week when Tristan is just like not into it. I just go, hey, we can pause and let's go outside. And he'll be like, yeah, I want to go in the sunshine and run around. Then stop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, don't force the issue because you want to do something, or you're trying to like.
You're like, when I set this game up.
Yeah, I did all this. Like, let it go. Hey, another Canadian here. Go figure. Man, this guy is the guy I was telling you about, the Toy Boy of Canada.
Gotcha.
An awesome, like, very creative, and not only restoration but recreating products. So he made a 3D visionary. Well, instead of just doing the reflective, he made like a 3D glow thing. Amazing, like, artistry on how he does stuff. Go check out his stuff, please. So that is my big advice: is you can't force them to do a thing you want, and just feel it. If you're like, hey, this bathwater is lukewarm today, we're gonna move on. You know?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I think Violet was more. She would go for a lot longer than I would have imagined at an early age. So that was a really cool part of that early time spent playing with her. Because I would be like, she's gonna get bored of this and throw it down after like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But we would play for like an hour, and I was like, whoa, this is it's intense for a 2-year-old.
So and what it comes down to is, like, what is their attachment, right? Because we all have nostalgia to our first toys we opened up, our first whatever, right? Our kids have that same thing. We just don't know it because they can't express nostalgia because it's new to them, right? Like, there is no nostalgia
they don't have
for a 5-year-old. It's right now. So the toy they just opened up and they're playing with on the shelf, that is her future nostalgia. You know what I mean? So
that's the she plays with the Thundercats, the Super 7 ones a lot. And it's so funny that she knows all their names, and I'm like, this is weird, because like you're hitting this weird, like, oh, I can't wait to play with Thundercats with my daughter, and then at the same time I'm like, why do you know what Thundercats is? It's all me. She has no idea.
And what's Toy Connect?
She does like the show though. I have shown her the show.
And here's Ken. So Ken, I just talked about your conversation about how you spend time with your kids. So go rewind. Be kind.
Hello,
rewind.
Ken.
Go check it out. So with the attention span, and what did you say? You said a nugget in there. One of the things you said was good. Having a hard time remembering.
Don't make me remember what I just
said. No, it's impossible. So I will say you lose 10 points of intelligence when you go live or you speak. Yeah. So instantly your IQ goes down. Like they'll be like, hey,
what'd you just say? No idea.
What's your name? Next question. Pass. Line.
I think it's on the screen.
Yeah, line. So with their establishment of who they want to play with, that's also part of it too. Is that Finn wants to play with Calico Critters. I'm not going to grab G.I. Joe off the shelf and be like, we're playing G.I. Joe.
Like force it.
Calico Critters.
I've played a lot of Disney princesses.
Yeah, in their world, right?
Yeah.
Now
she has like a castle that I love it because it's like similar to a Castle Grayskull or sort of scenario. There's big front doors. It makes sounds when you come in and out. Like it's fun. So I've done a lot of that.
What do you do when you have fairly expensive-ish figures? This is a good segue here. And Slaughter, he brought up the same thing here. Hey, Wilhelm has joined as well. Hey, I started following you on Instagram too. Thanks for the follow back, by the way. He said, so what do you do with expensive figures? And then Slaughter also said, I lost a lot of my collection playing with my sons, gained a lot of great memories.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I play with Mythic Legions.
Yes.
The first Mythic Legions I bought were $35.
Yes.
That same first line
is now hundreds
of dollars for that figure. I let them play with them.
It's irreplaceable, but replaceable.
So so I let them play with them, but the rule is with Mythic Legions, I have to be there. That's the only caveat in my entire collection. They can play with Joy Toy, any G.I. Joes, not Mythic Legions, because that's too irreplaceable.
Right, yeah.
And you've walked around this room today, right?
No, I've never been here.
Okay. But today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm kidding, of course.
I should have framed that better. It's a hot mess.
It is, but you've organized it in a way where you're like, don't touch it. You can play with it.
Yeah, but not only that, it's not set up in display. It's bins to pull out, and it's just a dumping ground. So with that, some of it. I think some OCD collectors would not want to.
Oh yeah, because trying to put, because I kind of do that because I don't have the bin system set up really. So every time she like grabs all my classified off the shelf to play with it, which I love. Because it's G.I. Joe, and that's fantastic. But at the same time, I'm like, I gotta really put all those guys back up after
and the accessory mix match. Like you love to see the imagination of them swapping parts, but then you're like, where's his gun and her hat? And like it's just a pool.
Violet's go-to move is just to pull all the guns out. Like I don't want to like take all this stuff off, and then I'm like, oh, where's all those?
And you don't have the time after.
Why did I buy the shaggy carpet?
You just sweep them into a bin. You're like, I'll deal with this later.
Later on.
Yeah,
I just throw it on the shelf that they usually go on, and I do it.
And then
of course, of like a week, but then we do it again.
And then it piles up because sometimes you might not have gotten back to that first one. So one of the cons of playing this is the mess. And then as Slaughter brought out, or as Steven Play with 375 brought up, is another con is you're going to get stuff broken. And I've had a lot of stuff snap and break, not to their fault. My kids are trained to be delicate with things, not to where I'm like use white gloves and all that. But they know, hey, the wrists will snap, so maybe twist the forearm.
Yeah, I think I do draw a line with certain things. I won't let her play with everything. But like, I mean, even a Mezco, which is pretty much the most expensive thing I buy.
Yeah.
I'll let her like she loves that Spider-Man for some reason. I think it's just the fact that he wears actual tights.
But she doesn't. Speaking of breaking toys, I just threw it. But she doesn't pick it up and go like, nah.
No, that's
right?
true. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I've taught her at an early age to be like, you can pretend he's punching. You don't have to actually hit the toys together.
So I would say,
but like, she still manhandles that Spider-Man probably more than I would like. But at the same time, like, I'd probably say yes every other time. Maybe. Yeah. Like I don't feel like you can play with him every time.
That's the coach play part. Is like, look, you don't have to. Don't throw the figure. He can throw a fist. And you start teaching like. And that's where articulation becomes a valuable toy feature too, or play feature, because non-articulate figures, they're punching like this, right? So when you actually have the ability to swing, you're like, look,
yeah,
and
you're like, look, you can make them do that thing. Yeah,
but it clicks in their brains, like, oh. So
speaking of articulation,
I don't know where this is
that
going.
goes right into topic number 2 for entry level play. What toys to buy your kids?
So the expense
it's sort of on this.
Yeah, no, it is. The expense piece ties into that really well too. So you can play with expensive toys with them. You got to train them into it, and before you really want to bring a
$20 figure, I don't care.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's if Violet's walked up to me many times and gone, "Can I play with Baroness?" I'm like, "Yeah, if it's a GI Joe, go for it. I don't care."
There you go.
You know, kind of thing. But other toys she asks, but then the other toys she just knows, like, oh, I can play with this all the time because it's already just out sitting on a play table. But that's kind of getting to what I was going to mention in terms of like what I did with her at a very young age. Was like I skipped all that Imaginex or like those little. They're literally called little people. The little people that are just like a blob body or whatever. Like I skipped all through that, and I wouldn't even let her grandparents buy her that stuff. I'd be like, no, stop buying that crap.
And this is what Steven's actually. Hey, would you recommend stocking up on less expensive figures for playtime?
I do, but the one that I went to, and they're still making them, but it's harder to get because they don't have Disney stores anymore. But I love those Disney toy box toys because it was like Star Wars and Marvel and Disney and princesses a little bit, but they stopped that almost immediately. But like I initially got it because I was like, oh, they have Moana, maybe they'll make Elsa, and I can play with Elsa and Iron Man at the same time. It'll be fun for me and my daughter. So, but those were highly articulated for a cheaper toy. They were like $12.99 at the time. I think they're more like $15 now, but which is still pretty cheap. But you know, like they're on the cheaper end of stuff, but it's like a 5-inch scale. It's almost 6-inch, you know, and they're pretty articulated, but they're cartoony, so they're a little like lighter feeling for her, not as heavy or dark as some of like the Myths of Legions might be. But yeah, I went in that route, and so from the time she could hold a toy, she was playing with those, you know.
So to summarize, you kind of skipped the babyish toys.
I skipped the baby toys, went to a mild babyish toy, but closer to what I would play with already, and she's already graduated up to like 6-inch toys and stuff, the normal stuff that I play with.
And for your youngest son, what's his name?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So for your youngest son, you bought Origins for him.
Yes, I'm buying him currently. I'm buying him Origins. So that's sort of the same idea. Those are a little scarier though, because they're meant to be modular, and I'm like a little more worried about him putting those in his mouth.
So there's limits to that,
there's limits to how much I let him just run off with it. But he's only one for the viewers, but and his name's Grayson.
I wanted to say Dick Clark, but I knew that was off.
Yeah, no, it's Dick Grayson. Yeah, but the toys you buy for them, I went a little more childish. Like the Origins ones are they're what I played with when I was a kid, with more articulation. Yeah. But the toys you buy for them is important. But I purposely went in a direction that I knew I could graduate them up to what we play with. And so that's why I went that way.
I think that's
not all kids can.
The big piece is like Joey Adams, who jumped in here too. He actually asked me about this. Hey, I'm super interested in this. He just had a son recently too, who's walking, you know, and he was like, hey, how do I get them involved in this? And some other comments in the chat here, you know, like my boys are both in their 20s, but when they're 8 or 9, like toys, but you know, video games ever since, kind of thing too. Yeah. I can't look at my crystal ball and say that I will have success getting my kids into toys, but I will say now we do play video games. And at the same time, they look forward to playing downstairs. And I'm going to talk references later on, but video games are a great reference point to get your kids to play with toys. Like we play Subnautica, which is underwater exploration game. We don't really play too many first-person shooters right now, too, but limiting some screen time in general is probably a good thing to do, right? We're not crazy. We let them have screens. That's 2022. But referencing that and then being able to do like, hey, you remember how you played that in this game?
Let's do that
here. And like, so even I as an adult would do that. I'd play like Modern Warfare at like 2010 or something like that. I'd play it, and then I'd go and like look at my toys. I'm like, oh, I can impose that. And how do I replicate that? And we'll get into the more advanced level of how you replicate some more intricate.
One of my favorite games we ever played with the Joes was that giant mountain that we made. We ran around. It was right after that movie had come out with Jude Law, the Russian sniper.
Oh yeah.
Enemy at the Gates.
And
we were just watching Enemy at the Gates. We're like, let's play with snipers. And we just had snipers running around the hilltop forever. All the other toys that we had on the hill trying to take the hill were basically background characters.
To the
as we ran around with the sniper duel trying to kill each other. That was fun.
So if you don't know, Joe and I have been friends for
a very long time.
Yeah.
Since the time of Enemy at the Gate.
Well, prior to that.
I know.
Actually, so I want to take a moment while you're here live. Like, we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Couple of decades.
Yeah, that you're here in person, because I wanted to just. There was a time in the past when you borrowed $5 from me, and you never paid me back.
With interest.
Yeah, and I wanted to.
Looks like I owe you.
I was hoping to get
plus
that
inflation.
back.
Don't forget the inflation.
So
looks like I owe you.
There's so Final Faction
50 cents.
is
Dollar has dropped in value.
The Final Faction is a great toy line to jump into. I like those things because they're an awesome alien race to mix in for the 4-inch figures.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they are cheap, but I also mix those in with like my Crisis 2 figures, those aliens, the really cool cyborg looking ones that are more expensive. But they're a great cannon. The reason why we bought them is because it's a cheap army build. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're cheap. But yes, that is a good toy line to try entry level kids in, and they're doing a great job of pumping out new waves. They're actually pretty well detailed if you can get past like the one color.
Yeah.
The paint.
Wilhelm here mentioned the Batman Spin Master toys, or the DC Spin Master toys.
Kind of
very similar to the toy box
Origins,
toys,
right?
Oh,
they are.
Yeah,
okay.
like they're a little smaller, but basically the same amount of articulation. Like they've got the round shoulders. They can move the way that a toy box toy would move. It's a little more limited, maybe, but that's a good one, and they're cheap, so that's great.
That one. Brick something. All right. Yeah. RPG. We're gonna talk RPG influences when we get into the next phase. I'm gonna try to remember that comment's there.
Okay.
Probably gonna forget. But Brick something. Just remind me when I start rambling.
Yeah.
So just pop up again there.
I forgot what we were
saying.
saying.
And hey, thanks for jumping in. I did recognize your comments from Toy Connection too. Also, it is really great to see a lot of these people coming in here today.
Yeah, we got a big crowd.
I had a really good recommendation from, I think it was Adam from Go Figure, who was like, hey, don't go chasing bigger channels because their viewers may not be your viewers, and you want to kind of build your own community, your own connections. And I thought that was a really resounding piece of advice. And I think that for our channel, we do have a good community that kind of, like
I can't wait to watch it grow more. Yes. Yeah. But I agree. Yeah. Like based on the comments, like there's a lot more people out there like you and I than I would have assumed based on all the other YouTube toy channels. We talk about playing all the time, and apparently a lot more people do that than than I was aware of, because there's no more. I mean, I don't know how many. Maybe there's a lot of other channels that talk like this.
I'm really ignorant.
Not that many.
I'm really ignorant.
Me too.
Like introducing some of these people in there, like, oh yeah, like Ron Rudak and Hooded Cobra Commander and Viper Island. I'm like, great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Ooh, and it's my ignorance. It's not like these people aren't. I'm just
They're
so
doing a good
unwedded
job.
to it.
I just don't know.
Yeah. So I have too many inputs.
So we have two more things to talk about entry level. We have style of play and the settings of the play, which I think those kind of go hand in hand. So let's just kind of tackle them together. But one of the things that really stuck in my head the other day was when we were talking about...
Which other day?
I think it was literally today.
Okay. I thought so too.
I don't know. I don't remember when we talked. We were talking about... I was playing with Violet and the Galvatron and She-Ra, and you were like, that's a perfect example of like, there was nothing on the table. Like, that was all in her imagination. It was just a tabletop, and she was playing with She-Ra, and we started fighting, and I was throwing, well, not literally, but pretending he got blasted around across the room, and then coming back and fighting her.
Is this awkward to interface with you like this? It's awkward.
No.
It's awkward when you turn crotch to crotch to me.
Good.
So, you don't need to buy a Eternia playset.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Like, you don't, well, also, we don't have Eternia playset out here, but we have, like, stuff in the background. You have, like, mats and cloth and like, things.
That's advanced.
That's what I'm saying. That's a different thing later, but you don't, the point is at this level of play with your kids, you don't need that. It's all in their brain.
Yes.
Like you were saying, this could be a castle.
This is a castle. So we have played many games where we fought on shelf. Like, we pretend the bars are the elevator, so they go over here, and this is the elevator, and they zoop, and they move over, and they're on another level.
When you were a kid, like I played on the stairs all the time.
The stairs
because it was like another level, and it's flat, and you can play up to the next level.
I love introducing my kids to new toys, but when I introduce my kids, like, hey, check out the stairs. I'm like, what? Going up and down, and like, finding reasons to use ropes or to fall. Yeah. And that's the thing. Kids like repetition, so they were always like, I'm slipping.
And then they hit the stair, and they're like, oh, there's more around.
Yeah. But for me at 40, I'm like, I'm gonna stay up here, guys. You climb back.
Yes, the stairs can be for when you're playing.
This is almost equally as an
My
incline
knees
as
are
the figure.
dying.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped playing with toys since I was a child. One day you'll understand.
So the environments you can play in are limited by your imagination, not your kids. So you use a tabletop, and because it's a circular platform that you could belly up to as a kid, that became your arena, an elevated arena, right? Awesome. Like, that's great. I have these weird cube hexagonal kind of bookshelf dividers that are uneven. So the kids were using that for like different rooms, and like we went up to the height that they could play in, and it didn't matter there were books on there because that's just the back of the wall for them. So yeah, that is still a key feature to play.
Some of my best play memories on the stairs of my grandparents. Yeah,
absolutely. And underneath tables, if you've got more
tables are always
they're like a forest because it's shadow and you've got the table legs. That still
and
triggers
the chairs
my brain.
Because if you put if it's a dining room table, for instance, there's usually chairs that no one's sitting in. Because you kind of move them at different angles.
Because you got big tree trunks and then you got thinner ones with the trees. That still triggers my brain to this day. When I get down there, I'm like, guys. Yeah, absolutely.
I was joking with you the other day. I was like, I think I'm going to staple like a canopy underneath my desk, because I have a giant table for my desk.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, I think I'm just going to have a giant make under the desk. You'll never see it, but when you get under there, you'll be like, what?
Yeah, none of the adults will, right? But they're going to Neverland when they go down there. That's great.
But at any rate, I think we've talked enough about entry level.
Well, I want to hear you guys' questions too as we're going through this. Like,
that's true.
There's been some really good ones about like, you know, what do you recommend inexpensive toys? Because this conversation was.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Stephen coming.
Of course, Stephen.
Anyone else a little thrown out by Dom not wearing his Toy DOMination? What's this?
I didn't do laundry. I did 2 streams this weekend, back to
I had to do laundry. I was getting on a plane
through it because I was so nervous. I sweat through that thing, and I was like, "This is too Funkasaurus." So I put it in the wash, and then I got excited. Joe was coming, and then I saw his shirt. And
I know it's shocking because this channel is so huge and makes so much money, but we don't have a full wardrobe of Toy DOMination shirts yet. So I mean, we'll get there. But like, it's just not. We haven't. We need to get the interns on that. We need to get the interns on getting us.
The visual of like the cartoon character going to his closet and seeing the same shirt over and over again. It's just all time.
Here at Toy DOMination Worldwide Headquarters, we don't have our closets filled out yet.
It's all Toy DOMination shirts and then Toy DOMination suits and then like
the suits all have a pin on the lapel.
Rest of the Rings to Castles, my kids and I always build our own playsets. All right. This is a challenge for me because I built this.
Some people are capable of that, and
some
people aren't.
Some is talent, but there's plenty of people I've talked to recently who still use. Actually, Brian, one of our really good followers and friends, still uses cardboard boxes and just cuts some squares out of it. Right? Doesn't paint it. And to your mind's eye, this is fine.
Building.
When you Instagram it, it's not Instagram pretty. It's not diorama pretty.
Cardboard.
But if you put enough together, I've even seen some good stop motion videos where they were just like, here's a city and it's all cardboard, but you can still immerse yourself into that, even though it's just cardboard buildings, right? So
I think a lot can be said for just a touch of paint.
So that
like just the styrofoam that comes out of the TV box, if you just spray paint it gray, you'd be like, this is some weird factor. Like it's very easy to like break your brain and go like, oh, that's not a piece of styrofoam, it's a giant stone wall or whatever. But so gray spray paint is your friend, I think, if you're not good at building stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that's a good segue into the
middle level.
Yeah, because now you still can play. So this is getting into where your kids are getting influences from their friends. They're watching their own TV shows. They have a lot of inputs of their own, right? Maybe they're playing their own video games at this point too. So they're starting to get other influences, and this also generates imagination ideas in their brain, right? And they have their personalities. Like they are definitely adapting to who they're becoming. So this is when you can start amping up the game. You can still play on coffee tables. My boys and I still have fun. Like Finn actually was like, I just want to play in the living room. We hopped on the couch to the coffee table.
Time to start a GoFundMe so Dom can dress better. Don't worry about it. Here at Toy DOMination Worldwide Headquarters, our interns are on. I'll make a note. I'll send out a company-wide email tomorrow. We'll get them on it, and Dom will get like 3 or 4 more shirts. For like the one stream. Like he can just change within that stream.
I could take it as insulting But I actually appreciate that people are concerned about me and who want to send. So that's great. Like, thank you, Robin Charles. Like,
it's really not. It's not for you to get better shirts. It's really just for laundry detergent. You just ran out.
That's got to keep that cycle going. You know what I mean?
Leveling up the play for like a 5+ year old kid.
So
like that's something that I asked you on one of our relatively recently. I was like, hey, by the way, because I feel like Violet's she just turned 4. That being said, she's kind of playing on a 5-year-old level already because I've been forcing her into it since she was 2. But like I'm already ready to be like, I can tell she's ready for like more intricate games. I don't really know how to start, and I know what I'm doing, sort of. So like I was like, hey, by the way, you have kids slightly older than mine. How did you start? How did you break past that like entry level to intermediate?
No, so I would say step 1, just stop being a bad dad.
Sure.
That get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So let's assume that. So your kids are, like I said, they're getting these other inputs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you run out of ideas, the best thing to do is to steal them.
What?
So you watch a cartoon show, you watch with it. So I don't know how to play Calico Critters.
Imitate it.
I don't know how to play Calico Critters. Because then it'll be like, I don't want a violent game, and I just want to be able to play.
And
I'm
you're
like,
just like, I just want to cut something set off with a sword.
Yeah, and I'm like,
is that so hard?
I don't know the conflict in a non-violent game that has animals in basically what's eaten.
The conflict is who's going to the ball with whom.
So it's drama, right?
Yeah.
And this is actually, Mr. Rogers is actually one of my adult heroes. I didn't really care much when I was a kid.
I did a little, but
So Mr. Rogers' show hit a beautiful touch point where he talks about why he actually talked to Congress about this, and he said, hey, the things I talk about on my show are real stresses to kids. These aren't adult stresses. These are real stresses to us. So Calico Critters has stresses like, I can't find my costume, or how will I, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so
the mail didn't come today.
Yeah.
What should we do?
So, or where's the ball? Or the baby's still crying. These are still tension. The baby's still crying. How do you stop the baby from crying?
That sounds like a very adult problem.
So in that absence of me not knowing, I just watched a couple episodes and I'm like, that's the level of the stakes. Yeah, and then I just introduced like, oh no, it's raining too hard today and the roof is leaking. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like, so take those references and steal from them. Because I don't know how to play Calico Critters. So I just watch the show. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Just watch an episode of Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies is a great reference too. So steal, borrow. Bluey is one of the best kids shows out there. It's also Australian. Zazel, I know your kids are a little old from this. It's never too late to bond over a good animated program. And they have some really good ethics lessons. And that's another thing you can tie in at this age now too, is that if you have a problem with your kid, great time to bring up that through toys is here. So I had a bully character who was telling everybody no and taking stuff. And Tristan was like, he's mean. I'm like, yeah, it's really mean.
He is mean, isn't
he? He's mean, isn't he?
Yeah, he is mean.
How would you resolve that conflict? He's like, I punch him in the face. It's like, okay, great. And then when
Let's see how that works out.
Yes. And when they take that step, I'm like, oh, he's way stronger than you, which I'll get in the kid invulnerability and how to give them damage in the game later.
Yeah.
But that is just steal from other shows. Like follow the exact story beat and just do that with your kid, right? Like Thundercats. Yeah. Copy an episode of Thundercats.
Thundercats is a great, man, it doesn't hold up for adults at all. Or maybe someone disagrees. But it's slow. Everyone talks so slowly in that show, I've noticed. It's just like,
what do you mean? Lion-O.
Where are you going? And you're just like, what is that?
I really want to do an episode where we actually, all the people who love the old shows.
Let's just get giant cat lion.
I want to play sections of old shows to people like us and be like, see? It was bad. Like, it's not good.
I watched a few episodes of Voltron, and it was just, the princess was like running around the castle with mice for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No,
which is great, but also not what I was looking for.
The step up. So when my first games I played with Tristan, I was playing Monster Hunter at the time.
Okay.
Very simplistic concept. You go out, you kill monsters to loot, to build equipment, to go kill more monsters, and rinse and repeat. This is a very easy concept for a 3-year-old to pick up on. We're gonna go hunt a monster. I brought out the big Rancor.
Yeah.
They hunted the monster, and like they laid down a trap, and then we killed the monster. And I was like, now you loot it. He's like, what's loot mean? I'm like, you take the claws, you take the teeth.
Yeah.
And then they go back, and I was like, now you have a toothed weapon. Yeah. So advanced level, that's entry level, and I just stole it from a video game.
You always take the rhino horn. You know.
So basically, we're playing poachers. Yeah. we're how to poach. I've got a future business in mind for my kids. So
I'm working on making some shells. Wait, I gotta read. This is
Go
an
ahead.
intense one. I'm working on making some shells for my glass showcases that have different variations of each kind of environmental surroundings in my GI, and this is why this comment caught my eye. Joe.
It's a Joe. It's a very call.
And then
Joe.
Collections of vehicles,
Joe.
and I plan on doing the same thing for my display cabinets. Yeah, that's. I mean, absolutely.
So
if you make your shells playable, that's what I do basically.
So adults play in many ways.
Yeah.
Adults will play in many ways, and building environments that are, however you set them up, dioramas, toy photography. That is adult play, and that's that's different. So while we're talking about stealing ideas, movies to draw on, right?
Yeah.
There are some movies that follow really good plot and story beats and character beats, right? The easiest beat to steal, and we just played one today, is the MacGuffin.
Oh yeah.
There's a thing that the bad guys want.
The bad guys want it. You gotta stop them from getting
get it.
Yeah.
Or that, and that is the easiest thing because you can substitute whatever. It's the Venture Brothers. By the way, I love Venture Brothers. It's the Venture Brothers coffee mug. It's the Infinity Jones. You get gems.
Infinity Jones.
Infinity Jones.
That's where you collect all 5 of your neighbors down the street.
We need as many Joneses now.
Squeeze them under your glove.
We need more Michael Bettons. So my favorite movies to borrow from are simple. A good one to borrow from is kids they're not in control at any point in their life. They're constantly being told what to do, how to do things, when's bedtime, what to eat, constantly. So when they play with hero or characters, they usually like to be Avengers. They don't like grimdark and gritty like I am, where it's like, I don't know how many of you punks are gonna live today. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you go out, like every engagement, it could be the last your character.
I was very grimdark though.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like my character.
So they don't like that because they're already vulnerable and they don't control anything. So when they play, they need to be adventure. I almost said adventures, Avenger level.
Yeah.
Right. They need to be the superheroes, which is what 5e.
They need to be the Superman.
Yes, they need to be able to have 5e and D&D. So the movies you need to inspire from are the ones where the heroes are elevated. Star Wars is obviously a good one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Skip the origin story and jump to when Luke is already a Jedi. Skip to the third movie where they're already in power. Now, what you can do is you can still tie in drama and stuff through storytelling, and you can still introduce vulnerabilities to them too. But I
make that interesting by making Darth, like Violet's never watched Star Wars, but I make Darth Vader horrifying to her. I mean, not in like a scary way. I just make him breathe the way Darth Vader breathes, and she's like, "Oh, he's terrifying," and he runs away.
Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing? That's a great one.
Why is he stopping here? This is backcountry. Oh God. Anyway,
it's a great one for children. 5 is enough.
Find those stories where the heroes are elevated, right? Yeah. And you can find ways of. So, I introduced vulnerability to them when, like Finn did it today. He was like, I picked her up. I'm like, whoa. You're a firecaster who can fly and you can do all these things too. Mm-hmm. You're not strong though. And he's like, well, I need a strong character. I'm like, and instead of just putting him down, it's like, here's a strong character, and then you can get a big guy to do. And what it does is it starts showing dimensions for them. It's like, oh, I see. This is this trope. This is this.
Yeah, if I keep using these little forest characters, calico critters, I'm not going to be able to defeat, Dr. Doom.
Right. And that's another thing too is, and I forgot to mention this before when I was diatribing, is you can bring in. So I did a Warhammer 40K video in Speedball.
You diatribe?
Yeah. I try to take something for it, but it's not. I'm old. So
it doesn't work.
I let Speedball in a 40K game because I'm like, why not? We're just playing around for fun, right? So who cares what you introduce? We had Pokemon as forest spirits one time, so it was like, this makes sense. They can be like familiars. It's a fantasy setting. Like, why not let the snake thing be a snake demon or whatever? Today, though, Finn tried to bring Miles Morales into a fantasy game.
Yeah, and you're like, this is ridiculous. He's wearing
sneakers and hoodie, right?
And hoodie.
So you can set certain boundaries, and you can even say like, hey, when we play that game, we can
if we're playing with the superheroes, break them out.
And it's up to you. You can have a game where it's HeroScape and it's a toy box unloaded.
That's sort of how I've done it so far, which is why I was like, hey, how do you get away from that?
Yeah.
You know, like, so I agree that can be done.
So
but I feel like that's more of a
do your own branding.
more of an entry level.
Yeah, do your own branding.
Yeah.
We call it adventurers.
Yeah.
And they instantly frame like, oh, this is fantasy.
Oh, that means back in time.
I can get these characters to be in my adventure.
Yeah, see, I don't even think Violet understands that, like, most of the Disney princess stuff, like, that they don't have cell phones. You know what I mean? Like, I have to, I'm like, that was a long time ago. I mean, it was a year ago now or whatever, but classically, she was like, why don't they just drive a car?
Yeah,
like,
well,
like,
so
they were in a sleigh or something, and she was like, why don't they just drive a car?
So another thing that we do,
well, they didn't have cars back
outside of playing with toys, and I've done this since Tristan was 2, is we do skeleton stories. And the reason why they're called skeleton stories is because the bad guys were skeletons in it, but it is a very great way to just, at night, you tell a story, but you ask questions, right? You start asking them questions, and a really good reference, this is from Sly Flourishes, The Lazy Dungeon Master. You don't have to play D&D to appreciate stuff like that. I'm hoping that we don't see people suddenly drop off like D&D and like just bail out.
I thought this was about toys.
But what's genius about, well, now, as I said that, my co-host walks off. What's genius about this, and you can look up on YouTube, he does some videos about here too, but he dungeon masters a game and runs a game, but he leaves gaps and he asks his players questions. So you're walking through the forest and you stumble upon what? And that question allows your kid not only to fill in those gaps, but to tell you what they want to play that day. They'd run into an orc. Well, I guess we're playing with orcs today. They will tell you what they want to play. The more questions you kind of do this to build a world.
Yeah, asking the questions is key, I think. And I don't do enough of that.
So it's hard because you're so used to driving it. But once you start asking your kids questions and having them fill in the blanks, like
I should have done that.
Oh, was there a demand to bring him back?
Yep.
I don't think you should take offense to that. He's adorable. Just because he's here doesn't mean
not the cute one.
You shouldn't be threatened by it, though.
I should have come back wearing the fake beard. Yeah, Steven said, now's the time to bring back Plush Joe.
Oh, I missed it.
Well, he's on the floor way over there. It's difficult. You were in the middle of a thought.
Oh, Rip. I think that's the game where... Wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. There was a video game which...
Crossover banner genre.
There was a video game that would... it was after World of Warcraft and Conan was big, and it would open up these portals where demons would come through. So you could always go and fight the portals. Games like that are really great for kids, too, because it's non-continuity. And you can suddenly have a new threat pop up wherever you want, right? So a portal opens up, different monsters pour out, and you get to fight them. But asking questions of, and this leads to character development, which the kids want at this point too, right? So asking questions like, why does he hate them? Or, and like you haven't done anything like that. Just there's a new character, they just pop in on screen.
Character development, they're moving mildly into advanced.
So, but this can be surface level. Like this character just pops in. They've never seen the toy or they've never seen this character in the game. You're like, why does this character hate you? And they're like, I don't know. I was like, well, why? You can, this
like,
is the
why do
conversation.
you think? Like, why do you think? You can tell he doesn't like you, but why?
Did they do something to you? Did they? And they're like, yeah, I think he looks mean. I'm like, oh, that's why you don't like him. But why doesn't he like you? And that may be too hard for a kid. Like, why does someone not like me?
What do you mean everyone likes me?
So it can be like, well, why is this person frustrated at you? Oh, because I once was mean to them. And you're like, oh, this is great. And you start, like, they are ready. And what that does is it moves them into the next game level of like, they are running games. I come home a lot and Tristan's like, Dad, here's what I set up. And like, there's a lab and there's
Interesting. Violet does play on her own already, which I love. Because I love walking into the room and seeing her just go like, just quietly going like, and like making them talk to each other. And she's just quietly playing. But she doesn't say, Dad, look what I am doing right now. She just is doing it, which is fine.
Yeah. I think that self-play is a great way to develop as well, too, right?
Sure,
like,
I love it when she's doing that because I'm like, let's just let that happen.
Because if they're imagining
amazing.
on their
she's
own,
doing something there.
Yep, if they're imagining on their own, then they could usually translate it over there, too. A lot of beard talk in the chat here. I'm pretty jealous. I try.
Do you want the big one?
No, it's really itchy. It's really itchy.
Only if you can properly grow one. Sincerely, a guy with a bad beard.
You know what's really fun to do with kids though while you're playing?
Put on fake beards?
No, that creeps them out. Especially when you go, boo, look at me.
Well, is it the beard at that point?
Bart, you want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask?
Oh, I love that's a classic.
No, so what you want to do is, and this is one of my favorite things to do, and we just did it today actually, is that we you surprise them with new toys, and it's funny because I used to do this to Joe.
Oh yeah, that was super fun, and I'm an adult.
Yeah, and so I don't even know. I think we set the camera up wrong for this one, but you can see the tail.
Here, I'll make that. Oh,
the tail starts here. Hold on. The tail starts here.
Yeah, just pan around,
and then it keeps going. Guys, I really love Halloween because
I mean, come on,
this is to hold on. It's
you can do it.
Comes around and still wrapping around. There we go.
I'll help you out here.
No, the camera will focus. Look at that. Look at that. A bone snake. You went to Target.
And the jaw has.
Oh yeah, hint. Yeah, we put a full figure into that thing too today.
I mean, there's there's 6 to 7 inch scale sitting on it. It's fine.
So one of my favorite things to do is to just surprise with a new toy purchase and be like, bam, and this thing pops up there, and it is great to just you drive. I thought it'd be easier with you here to help control the cameras, but it's worse.
You were like hitting the. Just turn off.
Still don't know what to do.
You want me to go around the rim and then come back?
Yeah, that'd be great. You just control that.
Yeah.
So surprising them with new toys is fun. I think you did this the last time we talked about with Violet. Like, hey, I just got this mail. She's like, let's rip those open and play with them.
Yeah, it was the Crimson Guard. Yeah, I got 4 of them. So she was like, well, I don't understand why there's 4 of these, but I love it. And she was like immediately like, she didn't even understand the concept of army building, and she was immediately like, I love that there's 4 of these. I want that, and I was like, those are, because weirdly enough, she goes to Cobra Commander a lot.
Yeah.
As like a thing to pull off the shelf to play with. So I was like, oh, those are Cobra Commander's like guards. They like hold on to, like they make them safe. And she's like, oh. And she just like loved the concept of that. She was immediately like, let's go play. It was pretty awesome.
So surprising is fun at any level to pop in. I think it's better, more appreciated when they're in the intermediate to advanced, because like even as an adult, you can see this way
that was more of the surprise of a new toy, period.
Yeah.
But like in the gameplay, is what you're talking about.
It's like, what is
like
this?
revealing like. Oh, so I want to show that picture though, because this is if I can find that shot. Actually, I think I'm already there.
Nothing like
way to fill that space. Way to fill that space.
I was drinking while you were pulling up a photo, and I was like, I should be talking right now, but
there's the blanket that we have. We're slowly revealing this dungeon.
So we covered up what the boys are going to see. We built it while they're at school.
Okay, so here's
covered it all up.
Here's the shot I was looking for. So this is you pulling off the sheet.
There you go.
As like revealing dead skeletons, and they're all like, "What's under there? What's under there?" And they're freaking out.
They were in such a rush to see what was in there. We're like, "Stop, slow down. We're playing the game." And they're like, "I run ahead," because they wanted to just reveal the surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the bone skeleton did eventually come out. So we did this kind of thing, but this is Finn after you revealed the bone skeleton. In RTDG Jammies.
The first thing the kid came home was immediately shuck off school clothes and RTDG Jammies, and then second, run downstairs to go play with toys. So yeah.
So the funny part is like Finn knew because he had peeked under the under the sheet, so he knew. He's like, I know what's under there. And then the whole game he's trying to pull it back, and we're like, Finn. Which, if you already know what's under there,
which is funny,
and you're the most surprised by it.
I love playing with my kids.
Yeah, it was great.
We ran into a problem with Finn today, and he's 5, and I know where it's coming from. It goes for that control thing, right? So there was a few times today where he had a problem with the game, and he was done. He was like, I'm done.
Yeah, he's out.
I'm bored. And when he says I'm bored, that doesn't actually mean he's bored. That means he has a problem.
Which is code for you, but not for me. So I immediately assumed he was genuinely done. I wasn't really trying to help necessarily. Maybe if I had known like, oh, that just means he needs to refocus in some way. I saw you do it. I saw you doing it. You were pantering, so I'm not gonna like step on your toes there. But I was like, oh, what does he need to get back in the game?
Or was I parenting?
Parenting.
No, you said pantering.
You were pantering.
We all make mistakes.
You were pantering.
I just wanted to point yours out more.
I'm just saying you were pantering. What did you not hear? What did I say?
You're right, I was pantering.
That's what I thought.
When you panter, you're pantering. Anyway.
Well, I don't remember my thought anymore. So the key is that I didn't want to like jump in there and be like, Finn, how about this? Finn, how about this? Because I didn't know the vibe. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'll just let him handle this.
It's a hard read with him, though.
Yeah.
You know? So what ended up happening later on was I asked him, hey, man, why'd you bail? Like, he came back in. We brought him back in, but why'd you bail? And he was like, Dad, none of my guys can fight the skeletons because in our game, and this is a way to introduce challenges to kids too, is skeletons, your swords and arrows don't work on skeletons. So like T was like slashing them, he's like, oh crap.
He ran up and stabbed one and you went ka-ding or whatever, you made whatever sound effect and he was like, oh, I can't hear them.
But Finn suddenly looked around, he has this agile guy who leaps around with knives and he's like, I can't do anything. So he didn't feel empowered to be able to beat the threat.
I feel like, so I think an important thing to mention with this advanced level of play that we were doing tonight isn't necessarily, because we were kind of mentioning age, and we've been mentioning age a lot up to this point. Age isn't necessarily what drives advance.
No.
I think it's just like, if they're ready for it, then they're ready for it. Like, you know, it's not, and maybe they'll have off days. Like maybe Finn was just not really into it tonight or whatever, you know, kind of thing.
And that's it. And it's to feel it out, right? So once we we brought him back in, he's like, well, this is boring. But he was watching us play, and I knew he wanted to play. So I was like, hey, look, this is the thing. Then he jumped right back in. He was casting fireballs.
Yeah, he was like, having a great time.
Yeah, immediately. And I was like, something was off there, Morty.
That's why you needed to figure out what that missing piece was or later on.
So it came to an empowerment thing, which is, you're right, kids don't need to feel vulnerable, especially when they're playing with their dad or adults. It's like, and his older brother. Everything that's in there is a bigger platform than him, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to be aware of. Now, damaging, kids don't like their characters to fail. Like you and I actually are better than a lot of adults.
Yeah.
We like to fail in games. We're like,
I think it's fun. Yeah.
Because as long as it wasn't like
one of the things we were doing tonight, I was like, I brought up Mumra, and I was like, oh, we'll make Mumra a thing. Like, it'll start off as the small Mumra, a character type thing, and then we'll grow him into the Mumra, the ever-living thing. And I was like, I'll just sacrifice my hero. I'll just, like, kill him, kill her or him, and, like, he'll absorb all their life, and he'll, like, turn into the big bad guy for that round or whatever. And you were like, yeah, but then you won't have a good guy. And I was like, it's all right. You know, kind of thing. Because I knew I could just grab another, like,
well, that's all. As long as you have someone to interact with.
But I was like, my guy can die. You know, kind of thing. That's what's funny, because I want that to happen for them. Yeah. You know, like, I don't care.
Yeah, no. Well, you're driving the story. That's why. Yeah. You have an NPC that's made to drive a story. So, but for kids, that's not the character is them, and they want it to revolve around them, right? So, to do damage to their character, sometimes
I think that's the key. You should step in as the parent or the older person playing with the kids to be like, my character is not important. Like, your character is, and it is an NPC at that point. You know that. You know.
Hey, it's American Consumer.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's all right.
Death and Decay, in retrospect, a lot for a kid's cartoon. Yeah. Yes, but he's got a cute mom mutt, so it tones it down. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't think that's the kind of thing that I think their brains just skip over.
Yeah, it's a mummy. It's just a mummy. They don't know
he's scary
mummy. Frankenstein.
She's more concerned with what bracelets Chitara is wearing.
So anyway, so to help with that vulnerability is that I would coach them like I would have their character get hit. Yeah. And they'd look at me like, what? I'm like, no, he's just hit. They're like, I'm like, you keep going. Like, same thing when they fall down on the ground. Like, get up, you're fine, just fell. Like, same thing, just you're hit. They're like, what?
Speaking of scrape P.
So then I started introducing a more advanced of gameplay. And to keep it very simple, I introduced the concept of hearts.
So like game mechanics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like game mechanics. Yeah. So like a great, again, this is some good stuff to look at even if you're not interested in gaming, but index card RPG is simplistic. It's called index card RPG because instead of having terrain, he just slaps on an index card and goes, here's the gate, here's the threat. And like you use index cards and the movement is, what's it called? Non-simulationist. Yeah, it's all conceptual. So you just go, I move from this threat to that threat. So
gotcha. Okay.
That's a great way to play with kids. You don't have to worry about running. You just go, no, you move from one threat to another. You move from an obstacle to a challenge.
That's interesting because I kind of find that making distance real sometimes helps ground the play.
It does.
Yeah.
So the same thing as taking damage, you can be like, oh, are you really fast? Your character's really fast?
Yeah.
Well, you might not be very strong. Introducing that balance right away helps
introducing
too.
Like spatial reasoning, I mean, like in the play make
Yeah.
Well, maybe, and that's obviously not the thing in like an advanced play, which is what we're talking
This is advanced. So what that does
Yeah.
is but you can't just put a barrier. What you do is you provide a solution like, no, well, that crossbow can't shoot that far. But if you get that bow and arrow, or if you cast this spell, and that's what you have to do. You have to allow them to bridge.
You can't, like, the typical move for a kid is to be like, I'm here, and now I'm here, and now I'm here. And you're like, well, why don't you climb up there and see if you can make, kind of thing.
And then what you do to not limit them, just say, in the meantime, you make it this far. In the meantime,
why don't you focus on this?
This happens here, right? So, but again, it doesn't. You have to be aware of their vulnerability in these situations, and you're their parent. And and T sometimes, I don't want to shame my kid, but he gets a little emotional about certain stuff.
How dare you?
Yeah, like I'm bad dad.
You're a horrible father.
So with the problems with kids, often runs there's some sort of root cause, or they feel like they're vulnerable, and then you see this with kids fighting, like, no, my character this, no, my character, and to stop that fighting, I introduce dice. I'm like, roll it out. I don't care, like it does, like roll it out. So they toss a dice.
Yeah.
Finn didn't like it because of the randomness, but Finn was tossing dice all day today. And it's
he was using the dice more
because
than he was.
and when it introduces it's okay to fail. Because just because he lost a dice roll, his character didn't just die and it's done. It's like, no, come back around. And instead of punishing his character for failing, I kill an NPC. So like he messed up, and so the guard next to him is just like, and just
we have a few questions here. I want to get to them. So Jim's saying to use terrain to add to the challenge.
All right, here's what's awesome.
Yeah, this kind of goes on what we're talking about already.
So in my Dungeon Master world, I was talking to Jim about this. They always say like, oh, add an element of terrain. In 5 rounds, the lava will break through. In 5 rounds, the temple will collapse. I mean, that's all hokey cinematic nonsense, right? Like, that's not how the real world works. You're not fighting the edge of volcanoes about to blow up.
Yeah.
But, so I don't like that kind of stuff. But the challenge in the terrain you can introduce is, this is all like, there's an acid pit over here. So you have to watch out for the acid pit.
Watch out,
And you get to build a game around the acid pits by making bridges. So now your characters are like walking through bridges and stuff, right?
This is environment, but also goes with the game we were playing. But like, I was like, because we were trying to figure out a way, how do they beat Mumra? And I was like, why don't we do a thing where his weakness isn't like real? If they just close his casket or whatever. That
is a great point.
That's
I want to
part of the thing.
Puzzles and challenges next.
Yeah.
Terrain, one of my favorite terrain games that we played, one of their favorite games was, I made a bridge go out. And in between was a huge Jurassic Park Mesosaurus, one of the ones. So that thing is swimming between them, and they had to get across the river gap. The terrain is the challenge, and how they do that.
Yeah, that's great.
Now here's the key: you have to be prepared to add a little bit of realism. Like you're saying, like, well, you can't.
You can't just jump to the other side.
Yeah, you can't jump to the other side, and you can't pull a rock out of the river and solve the solution. So you kind of ground them, but you also have to be prepared to say yes. It's like, oh yeah, you totally can find logs, or you totally find, or yes. Like when it's somewhere in a ballpark that you framed of feasible, then allow them. Or magic. Like if Finn creatively makes up a spell, that's not like a god world altering. He's like he made up a spell like I raise rocks. I'm like, clever.
That's
You didn't raise all the rocks though. There's still a gap. So give that to him like just enough. Like terrain
just almost enough. Yeah, that's close.
And terrain is so fun, especially even as a young age when you're playing stuff like this. This is a hazard. Like, are you gonna make it?
You can fall off this.
Oh, you fall down a level. Yeah,
no handrails.
Yeah, fall down a level. Like, yes, terrain.
So this is the other one, which I find interesting, and this you can answer way more than I can. Has there ever been a concept idea introduced that caused nightmares or had kids be afraid or upset at a separate time from playing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
From American consumer.
A separate time from
playing?
I
don't know personally.
You did it so well.
That's funny.
You did it so well.
What's funny?
Separate from playing, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've played games that have upset them later?
Yeah. So actually, not necessarily nightmare.
I have not broken that boundary.
But emotional. So like today, Tristan had to go to to show the keykeeper guy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So before we went to Grayskull. We have a ton of photos in there.
We have so many photos.
So we were playing with the kids, and I was like, Joe, we haven't taken a single picture for tonight. He was like, oh, I'll get right on it.
I'll take 1,000.
Photo done.
And we used none of them.
So we get to Grayskull, which is where the MacGuffin is buried, and that guy in the top there, he was the keeper or a guardian or a watcher type character. And all he did was just tell them a warning, and he's like, if you give me knowledge, I will let you know a secret about the bad guy. Because, by the way, if you're a DM or you're running a game, giving your players secrets on how to be the bad guys makes them feel like they're accomplished when they go in there. They're not trying to figure stuff out. So anyways, so he's like, give me knowledge. So Tristan was stepped right up. He's like, oh, I'm going to give you my pet familiar, which is this little dragon. So it's like, perfect trade. So I had this
weird thing for him to pull out.
Magic vacuum noise, and it sucked it up and it put it into his lantern there. And Tristan goes, I killed my familiar. He's dead. And he is Pip is dead. And I was like, no, he's not dead. He's like, I didn't want him to die. I just thought he could like hold on to him. Like, he's okay. Like, I had to quickly be like, whoa.
You backpedaled pretty fast.
I was like, whoa. I wasn't expecting the emotional
you were like,
backlash.
Whoa. Maybe he's alive still.
Yeah.
We don't know. So let's find out later.
And so we retconned it. I was like, here. I was like, look. And here's the best thing to do. You didn't know this thing would happen.
Right.
So I was like,
I did a thing that was supposed to shock you and not to this detrimental state.
So make me an alternate.
Right.
Tristan's a little more sensitive too. I remember, and Finn loves to just poke his buttons, man. So we fought these bandits, and I made a human bandit. I made him very humanized. Like, I'm just doing this for my family. And like, he was fighting them and desperate the whole time. And he was like, I don't want to, And so like, Tristan spared him. He's like, I'm not going to kill this guy because Dad, he has a family. So Finn comes up and just goes, I had a spike to his older brother, just cuts his throat. And I was like, wow. Tristan got
dark.
So upset. So
you can't let him do that, Dad. I'm not in control of his character.
So what do you do as a dad?
Yeah.
What you tell Finn you're not allowed to make decisions. You tell Tristan tough breaks. Like, so what do you do as a dad?
Tough breaks.
So I had to do it two ways. I'm like, Tristan, he can make those decisions. Like, that's fine.
Brian says it all depends on the child. Different kids are afraid of different things.
It is.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
and I've never had a game that. Well, that's not true. I did have a game where I spooked them because I dimmed all the lights. And this is the advanced level play. You start adding in light effects, like you saw in the pictures there, noises, stuff like that, and you can spook them. But I don't think I've ever had like lasting effects. But the sensitivity of my son, he empathized or sympathized with that character, and when he was slaughtered like that, he was like, he took it, he was like, no, that guy was. He immediately was like, he has a family, and the Finn was like, shouldn't have raised a sword against me, man. Yeah. You know what you're getting into, you bandit. I'm not a moral.
I don't care if you have family. At any rate,
you step up, you know what's coming. So the advanced play too is you saw the lighting there. This helps build the immersion factor, and like kids have immersion when they play video games.
So I don't have nearly as much terrain and fun stuff to play on as you do. So lights are what I do have in my studio. So like I very frequently are just like, oh well, let's turn on all the green, and that makes it foresty.
Yes,
kind of thing. I just changed all the LEDs to green.
And you don't have to have elaborate setup or tapestries and like that. Putting something down. If you're struggling with your kids wanting to play with toys, you gotta amp up your game, right? And that's the thing. Is like video games have soundtracks. Yeah. They have lights. They have explosions. Man, you can add that stuff in there. Surprise them with a new toy. I put on music when we play, and my kids will often know, like, oh, I love this, Dad. It's spooky. It's like they get in the mood. Yeah. Like that triggers that sense, right? Target the senses.
I'm gonna add a fog machine in. I think.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Just have aliens come up. The amount of times that my 4-year-old daughter wants to play with aliens. I mean, and I don't just mean like cute, like Lilo and Stitch aliens. I mean xenomorphs. Yeah. Is adorable and hilarious.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, and like this is, I use this for toy photography. This isn't really turning up in the light here, but it's kind of here.
No,
there we go.
Yeah,
it's kind of green, right?
Yeah.
So just a little teeny that I already use for toy photography light up there, shine on a character, or put in a dungeon, or dim the lights. You're creating an immersive atmosphere for them.
A lot of most people have like LED changing bulbs in their houses at this point. But
and if you don't,
grab
a flashlight.
Yeah.
And turn off the lights.
Yeah.
Like, so building that world,
anything that glows that's in your
100%.
collection.
100%. Yeah. And this works to older kids too, like 8 or 9 or 10, anything like that. That works too. Just help them with the imagination.
Brick something came back with, I had to step away. Did I miss the RPG talk? You did not technically.
So go to the cards really quick here. So, all right, that's a good segue with advanced play too. Another way to get kids involved with advanced play is it may be hard for them to be like, I swing a sword, I hit this target, I swing, I didn't get it, I swing.
This character card.
Go to this blank one first. All right, this is extremely Joe ruined it. This is extremely simplistic. Like I made this on Canva, but all it is like, hey, this is what you need to get hit. This is what your bonus hit is. And I penciled these out today I was like, hey, what do you want to be? I want to be a rogue. I want to be a thing. Like, okay. And I wrote in some stuff. Well, you're good at lockpicking. You're good at sneaking. Just write it in. Give it to him, right? And then if you look at the fill-in.
Oh, sorry. This is mine for today.
No one can see that.
I was going to show it.
Let's show it. Show it off.
Well, I thought it was cool because you had a little printout that I could literally write on.
Yeah. So I printed these out. Now, this is extra.
My character got hurt 3 times.
Yeah.
And almost done.
So those are the hearts. And Tristan even asked, like, Dad, how am I supposed to, or maybe you asked, like, how am I supposed to fill these in? Because usually I have them with pencils so they can erase it, you know?
I got you. Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, dude, this is a one-time thing. Like, here's actually the first. Oh, yeah. So at the top there. So there are some hearts. And hearts are very easy. It's not hit points. Who knows what hit points are, man?
No one.
But a heart.
Well, 4-year-old stuff.
Yeah, if I could scratch a heart like Zelda style, it's very. And I stole this from Index Card RPG, right? And that, yeah. So the armor in there is to say, like, hey, without saying armor saves, it's like, oh, but your armor took that.
Yeah, but I understand what shield means.
Yeah, so your shield is now. Do you like?
Actually is pretty complicated. Yes.
So this is for Tristan because he likes a D20. I actually recommend a D6.
Okay.
And because it keeps the numbers very simplistic, and Finn can add 1 + 3, 1 + 4.
Right.
So that keeps it easy for him. And when he sees a 6, he knows. He's like, oh, I got it. Right. Done.
So you're basically making like super simplified D&D cards for the toys
that they can follow along with.
Yeah. That they can like scribble on.
We all get dopamine hits from video games. We level up. Those empty boxes are level up checkboxes.
Oh, like the hearts? You mean?
Yeah. So you saw the top there. Now, the one thing I changed from this is I didn't like all the strength and everything listed in there. Like, why do that? Why put crap in there that no one's going to use?
Yeah,
right? So instead, I read, drop that really quick here. I read this book, Easy D6. It's a D6 based game. And instead of adding all that crap in there, this guy's really, he's been on YouTube forever. But
what do you mean all that crap? I spent a long time making those rules.
That's a character sheet. Like, that's it, man. It's just a couple things. And you're good at these things.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're not good.
Yeah,
Move on with gameplay, right? So it is assumed. And with that other card, I stopped doing that. I stopped doing here's all the stats. I'm like, no. Here's the things you're really good at. Here's things you're kind of good at. And here's one thing you suck at. So for Tristan, his thing that he sucked at as a skeleton was agility.
Yeah.
So when he tried to jump today, I didn't have him roll. I'm like, no, remember, you're clunky.
Yeah,
and he was like, oh, that's right. But he accepted the fact that he had a limitation.
Also, he put that limitation on himself.
Oh, so the kids will start absorbing failures.
Yeah, kids run the game.
Finn will admit, he's like, no, Dad, my guy's injured, so I'm going to go slow. Like, they inherit these failures, part of their characters, and like, my children are making dimensional characters with faults. Like, he had a character who was a coward. Like, no kid wants to play a coward, but like, Finn, that is so, like, oh, so,
so good. Good job. You made him scared. Went on playing with Rick. Something comes in with playing with my 3.75. It is actually. I've never played a true RPG myself, just in video games and watched others. So I modeled after Zelda NES.
There you go.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. And so and you don't need a lot. Here's the very minimum you want to do if you want to introduce some sort of mechanics. What does it take to hit the character? And do they get a bonus to roll? That's it. Yeah. And with Finn, he doesn't like the sheets and stuff, so I'm just like, okay, well, you have agility, so toss a dice, and you're gonna get a +3. Just that's it. If your character's Spider-Man, you get a plus whatever to your.
So here you go. Rooms are little boxes that connect, so they don't get revealed till someone of that party enters it. That's fantastic.
So, do you want to know what I use for rooms for this scale figure?
Yeah, but don't get up and run around and show us.
No. Could I?
No. Veto.
I'll paint the picture. Imagine, if you will.
Imagine, if you will. Dom's going to get up and run around and look for stuff while we just sit here. Don't worry about it.
Talks amongst us down.
I'm here with Plush Joe. Whoa, he's back already.
So, again, this is extra, but you don't use boxes for rooms in like a dungeon because the walls get in the way of play. Use a flat surface. Because once you put this down, here, actually, let's do the toy cam here.
Okay. This is good. It's a good shot of your underarm. Very nice.
Go solo.
Oh yeah, you just have the square on the ground.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's no walls to inhibit play. I come up to the edge of the room, and then just like Brick was saying, I can build the threats that are in the room for the encounter, and now I'm in the room, and whatever traps or whatever like that are activated, right? So that's a piece of wood because I use it for actually building walls onto. But you can use cardboard, just like here's a room, and you put the pieces of cardboard together. Simple. There's no walls in the way, and just like modular tiles for other tactical games, you can keep interchanging them. Like once you go through a room, move on to the next one, right? So that's a medium-sized room. You can put a treasure chest in there, put a threat, and that's it. You've cleared a room.
So love that. Got to check out that book/game. Yep, that's awesome.
Easy D6. Oh yeah. Go to Drive Through RPG. He's a really good dude too. He's really he's kind of an older guy. I guess a lot of RPG. I know.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cheap on Drive Through. You can get the PDF as well.
Robin Charles appreciates your creativity.
I appreciate Robin Charles.
I appreciate your creativity as well because it's helped me play with toys.
Joseph Adams, you don't have to write it down. Just this is going on the interwebs. It'll be there forever.
That's true. Just watch this episode again. It'll give us more.
You can't see this off camera, but Joe's doing something here with Squishy Joe, and I'm not sure what's happening. What are you doing? No?
You talking about?
So, hey, some references for like Sly Flourish, Lazy DM, great on how to ask people questions if you want to do games. Index Card RPG, extremely imaginative. These are fun to go through with your kids too because it inspires them to do things. And Easy D6, extremely simple character sheets.
Just put link to all these in the description.
I will eventually. If I remember.
Will you?
Squishy Joe. Squishy Joe, I want you to write that down.
So I guess, and I was kind of joking about it, like, you've allowed me to help play with these toys. But the bonus to these advanced gameplays is that 42-year-old kids can play this as well.
So,
and that's what I love about this. It's super fun.
So here's the sweet spot, right? We did a Toy Shame stream this weekend. Really great. I had a good time. I honestly could keep talking about it because I still have Toy Shame. And the guys I talked to, which was Zazel and Adam from Go Figure, and Zazel is from Sergeant Slaughterhouse, who, by the way, catches this in Australia at work, by the way. So he sneaks to put this on. So I really appreciate
your lunch break?
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that tremendously.
But they were talking about how they shucked off that Toy Shame. And I'm not going to elaborate too much in here too, right? But adults play with toys.
We'll go watch that stream.
Yeah, Well, I feel like it's a part A, honestly. Like, you can keep talking about that.
Yeah.
But adults play with toys in multiple ways. We take toy photography. We build elaborate dioramas. We collect or display. We make customs, kit bag, whatever you call it, right? One of my favorite mediums is the puppeteering or action play videos like G.I. Joe Bird does. I'll come out and say, like, they are one of my favorite creators because they inspire play. And that's how we play with toys.
Yeah.
We play with them, right? So to say you actually play with toys to an adult, I think even kind of is still like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean play with toys? Like, I get down on my hands and knees. I make little voices and go pew pew.
I have different. I make sound effects. You know, I mean, that does go back to like just playing with your kids because our wives will look at us and be like, "Yeah, that's all. You've got a wide range of noises you can make with your mouth that I was not aware of until we had children." That was a convincing machine gun test.
I thought something was actually on fire. So with adult play, it's probably still really hard. And who do you play with, right? Like, you had to fly out to come out here, right?
Sure,
So I am inventing game mechanics that allow you to play a little bit more with toys, right? So like nothing better than losing your own train of thought by interrupting yourself. Yeah, no. So we're gonna do, actually tomorrow, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go play with toys. We're gonna set up a huge set in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we're going to reenact, so to speak, a game we used to play 15 years ago. And then we're going to put it in the confines of a game I created at 1/18 scale, 4-inch scale. So we're going to play this game out. And so
we have this thing in our mind where we think we're going to play all day. It'll be 2 hours.
I'm telling you, I lost like 5 pounds playing this game because I was jumping up and down constantly. My joints were sore.
I'm just waiting. That's what I'm talking about.
The next day,
my
I
knees
was
will just be like,
everyone leave me alone. This game is I know now why tabletop games are on tabletops where you sit on a chair instead of playing your
even
backyard.
then, it's like I've been sitting in a chair for 8 hours.
Yeah, no, this is a ringer, man. Not for everyone. So I need to put like a warning if I ever publish this game, right? So
warning: this game will be played outside with lots of moving around.
Brick something. I'll totally put the links and the books and the authors there, and I'll try to get like a YouTube channel there because they're all on YouTube. All of them are on YouTube. So I'll put it on there. But so adult play, right? So there's many different forms of it too. But like honestly, like if my kids weren't here, I would come down and like play with my toys. And the way I probably would play with it without them is I would build into my ship. I'd create characters in there. I would come up with stories, and I'd be like, well, this would happen. And I probably would set everything out and play a solo game by myself. Yeah. But I feel silly. Like I run into a room and I shoot my own. I know everything. I probably
I shoot my own guy.
I know the conclusion before, right? So I probably add a dice
with
game.
the dice,
So it adds a randomness for me, right?
Yeah,
so
it makes it unpredictable.
So what I also want to do is create a solo game for adults to play. I'm like, here you go. Like you have toys. You probably want to do something with them. Like here's you're building amazing displays in your Detolf cabinets, right? The glass.
Oh, gotcha.
IKEA
it was the IKEA name that threw me off.
Maybe you want to take that display out, put it on a table, and like actually have your characters go through a scenario. So that's kind of what I'm going to do next.
There's so much diorama building and stuff in the toy YouTube stuff that I've seen. There's so much of that. Make that playable. Make it like the doors open. Like, make it be able to pull off the shelf and not be made of styrofoam that will snap in half at the slightest kick from your foot when you're walking around the room and inevitably kick it with your foot. But like you make a lot of stuff out of wood. I think that's really awesome. I don't think I'm ever really going to go that way, but that's because I suck at building things out of wood.
Well, I think it was Adam or Wilhelm. I'm sorry. I knew I'd forget that comment. I said, I'm going to forget this comment, and I did, but I remember the comment, but nothing named.
Okay.
I build WWE playsets.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I do build the playsets, but getting up close in Instagram photo-wise, you start seeing all the roughness to it.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't have the time to refine it.
Yeah.
Because we need to play with it and get
it.
It's not
like you're
there,
wet sanding it.
Yeah, no, you need to get out there and play with it. So like that is the downside of building playsets is that I could spend an eternity making like the G.I. Joe dad.
Oh yeah, G.I. Joe dad. Yeah.
Amazing details, so fantastic.
So detailed. And his doors open and stuff, but I mentioned this to you earlier today. I feel like there's like a level of fragility to it.
Right.
And I could be wrong. Maybe
would
it's very
you let
in real
my
life.
boys play on that?
Yeah,
ship,
maybe
right?
not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I would play with it, sure. But like I don't know if I would let like a 5-year-old like go like I'm gonna run this guy through this door and then it snaps off and you're like, oh, I spent 10 hours making that door. Kind of thing. Like that's the thing you don't want to have happen.
No, that's true.
But so creating the dice games or making it playable for an individual, I think sounds fascinating because like again, that's why I don't play with it by myself because I'm like, what am I going to do? Run in the room, shoot my own guys?
You're basically storytelling. If you do that by yourself, you're storytelling. You might as well just write it down.
I already played it out in my head the second I thought of it.
And I do like on Instagram. I do like the creators who show photo stories like they did this and they staged cheer and they went like those are fun and that's playing.
I think the toy photography has made playing with your toys a little bit more accessible.
Well, Zazel does action figure puppetry, whatever you want to call it, whatever that brand will become. It's not stop motion. Stop motion is still playing in this aspect too. But
that's right, playable.
That's right, playable.
Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Steven.
Dang it.
Well, now we got it.
Yeah, no. So, but that is a way of playing with toys. You are imagining, you're making voices, and he moves them with his hands, just like G.I. Joe.
What are you gonna be? Perfect. That's right.
Playable. I'm a closet genius.
Maybe you should come out of the closet. Show everyone.
I don't know. Then I wouldn't really be that much of a genius, though.
I agree.
For real.
Great.
Go back in the closet.
Yeah, go back in the closet where you think you're a genius.
No, so solo play. If you add a dice, if you add a dice mechanic in there, I think that helps.
Yeah.
Let me end this with: you don't have to play with your toys by getting down on your knees. And
there's ways to make it work.
There are ways to collect and to show them. If your kids aren't into that, does not mean there's a default in there. I do think it's possible in this game of screens, Fortnite, and everything else. Absolutely, be able to play with your kids. And I think that you just have to. emulate a little bit harder on what they're doing, what they're into. Pay attention to what they're into.
Yeah,
And bring that into your play. I think that's important.
I agree. This is a no-brainer. Yeah. I think we did it.
I think we did it.
Yeah.
I think we solved.
He's been dumb.
I've been Dom. He's been Squishy, Cute Joe. Which Joe?
I've been Joe.
He's been Joe. Thanks so much for coming out and playing with us today on Toy DOMination. Thank you so much, honestly.